Dat was een GitHub, die moet ik nog toevoegen. ...187. Shit. Is niet eens aan. Is het zo? Een moment. Dingen hebben. Howdy, stranger.
Hey. Aha. So, good morning.
Good morning.
You just woke up?
No, I didn't just wake up. I've been up a long time. I've been setting up all these bridges. I got bridges to MetaMaps and to RChain and to Dig Life and RChain in Telegram.
You're doing good work.
I'm working on a global search for Mattermost. This stuff isn't high priority for RChain right now, but I
had a bad week this week.
A bad week?
Yeah. My computer got hacked.
No.
Some bitcoins were stolen.
Oh. Shit.
Yeah.
Like,
sometimes you feel rich and then you feel poor.
what are you running?
Mac. And how's it called? Electrum as a wallet.
That's a bitch. So you're poor today, huh? You lost all your Bitcoin?
Yeah. But I still have a roof. And I can still eat. And my health is okay. So that's fine. So there's a lot of things going on GitHub.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I haven't been all that much involved. We announced this meeting all over. It's 1 o'clock. Did you announce it?
I have to change the... Yeah, I announced it. So... yeah, I'm on. I changed the internet connection, so that's why we couldn't hear each other. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, there was some fuss about Kenny is there also.
Kenny.
Hi. Great to see you. Okay, yeah, 3 of us. How are you doing, Kenny?
Good.
Okay. So, are you busy last times?
Well, yeah, this last week was a holiday week, so I took most of the week off. So it was nice.
Okay. And is your health going better now?
Much better. Yes. So, yep. I think I'm out of the woods at the moment, so we're good.
Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's rather painful stuff.
Yes, it is.
Okay, we have 4 now. Hi, Daryl Neudorf. So, yeah, I think we're going to start. This is the debriefing of the members. they talk about what's happened last week, and we discuss about things to do, and mostly everybody gets the floor. So let's start. This is all live streamed on YouTube, so take care of your words. And sometimes it's not good for public ears. So, okay. I've set up a very small agenda, so I'm going to share my screen. And I'll do a little bit of the, so here you see the issues that have been added last week. And it's pretty amazing. People keep adding issues, but then some get some progress and some don't. So, and what's also important is that the budgets, the budgets are set, but now we are running to the end of the month, and what I'm going to do in a few days is to freeze this spreadsheet, so the budget cannot change anymore. And then there's only a few days to add the rewards for everybody. And last week I made a video to explain how we do that. And well, if more people could do it, we need 3 people to set the reward for the people who are working on the issue in the team. So please pay a bit of attention to it in the coming days. And I want to show you my agenda here. So I want to talk a bit about this thing, the 3 activist rule, because and I can stop my screen now. So the rule is that we can make any issue that we think is good for the RChain code. And so somebody raised the issue, and then you need support of 2 other people to get this issue going. And then the budget is set to it, and you do it with these 3 people at a minimum, and then you go ahead. So we don't need any further approval from the top or so. And unless it's becoming a big mistake, then the top can say, well, you better stop this kind of things. So, but when it's not like this, then yeah, it's getting not liquid as water, but more, it's becoming more jelly-like. So, and then we don't make any progress at all. So, who wants to tell something? I think Ian, do you want to discuss about that?
Well, I was just listening to you and thinking about that quorum or bar of just 3 people. I mean, I can see it wouldn't be too hard to just get a couple collaborators and go fishing into the co-op's wallet. I mean, just need 2 other guys and you can
exactly
get paid. So yeah. I don't.
It's a bit amazing.
Seems easy to use, is my fear.
There was some discussion about having the bounties reviewed, and I guess that would fall under the compensation committee, would have the responsibility of basically, I guess, questioning a claim as being bogus or not, and maybe negotiating the amount.
No, James, please stop. We are going not that way. We don't ask a committee for approval of budgets. It's not going to work. So as Ian said, you only need 2 other collaborators to set the budget, and then you get going. And we have to trust the social control of the whole group that it's going well, you know. So
what controls do we have if there are three actors who are not working on something that is in alignment with the co-op's goals and mission? What can others do when three actors are out of line?
You propose something else.
Is there a mechanism to do that?
I don't think so, but I have an idea.
Yeah.
So we could also come up with a scheme sort of like proof of stake, meaning if one wanted to contribute to or get paid by the co-op, they'd have to put up some sort of stake in order to do so. And then
cool.
if they abuse it, then they lose their stake. And then the obvious thing is, well, if I'm going to be working over a significant amount of time, how much stake is appropriate? Maybe there are some details to be worked out, but it should be quite easy for someone, just one member, to flag a particular job to say this wasn't correct, and then that issue should be brought up before others and then evaluated, and then we should have some process. But hopefully, it should be something that isn't too complicated. But I mean, the downside is requiring a deposit for participation is going to lower participation drastically.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Or you could say, you have to work for an extended period of time, and all your efforts in the beginning go towards your deposit. So you don't have to initially put out a deposit other than your initial work, which might not be a bad idea anyway, because then you get people that see the value in putting in some time and effort and then getting rewarded later.
Yeah, those are good ideas, I think. But at the moment, it's already very difficult to get subjects on the list and to add a reward and also a budget and so on. And it didn't provoke a lot of mess until now. So there's only one issue that it needs further attention, because we need some legal advice on it. But I would keep it like it is at the moment. So when it's escalating into a mess, then we can do other measures.
Yeah. We can see quite easily how it could break, but we probably shouldn't try to fix it until it does.
Yeah. So let's see how it goes. Is that okay with you, Ian?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay.
I like that we're talking about this now, and that there are some interesting avenues to pursue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we have one hot item, that's the exchange item. So until now, people were paid by the co-op to work this out, get the rock on an exchange. And that may turn into some difficulties. So Ian has some objections to it, I thought, because I'm a board member and I'm participating also in this kind of stuff, and that's against what the board has been saying. So let me give a little history, but first an introduction and a hello to Daryl. Daryl, you're all set up with the membership now, and it's good to see you. Daryl participated back with the scenario as well, so he's been around for a while.
So great to see you guys, and I'm so happy to be on board.
All right. So the history of this issue is there is lots of interest among the membership for the rock being listed on some major exchanges. Typically, when such a listing happens, the price goes way up, and so there's some folks that want it. At the same time, there's been some guidance by the co-op's legal team to be very careful about how we present the rock or the rev, because the token is designed more for utility. It's a measurement. It's a way that we meter the usage of the platform. And it's not really intended to be a store of value or a security. So acting on the advice of all this counsel, the co-op has been careful not to promote putting these tokens up onto an exchange. And a few months ago, even Ed Eckelt, while he was a director, he suggested that members may want to act independently if they wanted to pursue something like that. But it's the position of the co-op that the co-op itself isn't pursuing that. So HJ, before he was a director, he worked on this issue. But now that he's a director, it might not be appropriate for him still to be involved in that effort. I mean, am I saying this right?
Yeah, what would the conflict be? I mean, prior to being, I'm assuming he had financial interest before becoming a director. Yeah. Well,
but a director paying members to pursue something which is not aligned with the policy, you just have to be, there's that.
I'm not paying, but I'm just executing the will of the members.
Okay, so maybe
those people have to be paid. So. Right.
So, I mean, it would be easier if it was someone else's issue, but it's under GitHub under your name.
I can withdraw myself from the participants.
So, Kit, are you going to start a fund to get us on an exchange?
I'm not sure I can do that legally, but I certainly can work on it with other people. And I wanted to just suggest that since we do have this somewhat possibly embarrassing problem of the creator of the issue now being on the board, that we could also close the issue and create another one when it's needed. The content that's important is the issue contains how-tos for how to deal on exchanges, which, as various people have found out, is not so easy on Ether-Delta or something. We could possibly move that content to a wiki or something. I prefer having it in the issue because then you can have a conversation going on. But closing the current issue, which goes back into previous policy times, shall we say, and it carries a lot of baggage, that makes sense to me. So maybe that helps to solve part of the visibility problem. Can everybody mute? Somebody's doing dishes in the background or something. So in terms of solving the visibility problem, I think maybe that will help things smooth out.
Okay, that sounds good to me. And closing the issue still makes it's still available, right? It doesn't go away. It's just changes status.
Okay. Yes. So any links that people find in social media channels, they will still work. That's one of the nice things about the GitHub forum.
And I think you can take a closed channel and forward. Like if there's a new one created, you can at the bottom of it, it'll give you some notification that this is moved, because that happens a lot where people open the same issue and they have to get kind of consolidated. So we could definitely do that as well.
Sounds good to me. So we close and we reopen a new issue.
Yes. So I know at Polynex I put in a request for the rock to be added. I guess as individuals we can request them on exchanges. I don't know what good that'll do. But the thing came up of, what does it cost to get on an exchange? And if we and then setting up a fund to for members to contribute to in order to raise the funds to get on that exchange.
Yeah, that's very well possible. I think Kit has a nice system for that. Can you explain that through Telegram or?
Sure. Yeah, I can go on Telegram and explain what we're working on.
And then raise a fund.
Yeah. To be honest, I haven't actually jumped into the requirements and everything, so I'm not jumping out with a yes here. But let me investigate it and see what the requirements of the different exchanges are, and we'll need to decide what steps need to be taken and how and something.
Yeah, the biggest problem is that every exchange asks mostly for official co-op address, and this cannot deliver. So, but okay. For the rest, everything is more or less clear.
Yeah, okay. Those are the sticky details that we'll have to explore.
Yeah. So the next subject is about invoicing. Our CFO, Lisa, she has a new proposal for that all invoices are sent to a invoice at RChain.coop address, and then it will be correctly handled.
Invoices, plural.
Yeah, invoice. Yeah. So that does mean that I still can send out the pre-filled invoices, and you make a PDF of it, and then you send it to this address. Or so it doesn't change a lot, but and with this pre-filled invoices, you can use it also to create your own invoice. So, for example, Kit has a company, and he just copy-paste the line items into his own template, and then he sends it up. So, any questions about that? I will paste the link, the email address in the chat box. So those were my subjects, more or less. So who wants to go on the floor? Yeah, Ian, go ahead.
Okay. So a couple of the hot button issues that I've seen discussed in the past few days. One has been, actually a couple of them relate to the imminence of multiple staking tokens. So the RChain platform, it's being, the mathematics says that we will be able to have multiple staking tokens, but practically, in order to preserve security and the whole staking system, proof of stake, we don't really know how best to implement this. So I think it's an exaggeration to say that multiple staking tokens are imminent, or even to say that the co-op would maintain control of any future staking tokens. So I think that we're making we have people making some assumptions about the time horizon for these multiple staking tokens and whether or not they'll be controlled by the co-op. And this is important because we're looking at things to do with, let's see, the design of the logo, and with, what was the other issue? The burn. So the membership voted at the annual meeting that we should be burning some of our rocks, but we have not come up with a number. So some of the arguments for burning rely on the idea that we're going to have these multiple staking tokens coming up. And I'm saying that I don't think that's coming anytime soon, and that it should not be on the time horizon of this burn decision. As well with the logos, I advocate for having one single logo to try to get something that we can trademark, as opposed to having lots of logos that could kind of water down the brand or confuse people. So just wanted to see if there's any discussion on any of that.
Yeah, I think it's important to realize that Casper proof of stake in and of itself is untried technology, let alone multiple staking tokens. We've got to get this right with one first, or it's, I mean, there's been a lot of work done on this, so I'm fairly confident it'll work, but nobody's done it yet. That's really important. We've got to actually do it right with one and achieve the goals of security and throughput and adoption before we even consider multiple staking tokens. Multiple staking tokens, I think, is going to be, I don't know how to say how many, how long, but easily years away, right? And then in terms of the logo, I think right now we have a single logo, but it's got multiple color variants, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the logo is okay, but there's a lot of interest in refreshing or updating it. There's the argument that that logo was done kind of in a rush and that it's a placeholder and not like a big rebrand. And then if we do plan to make any changes to the logo, there's the argument that sooner is better than later.
I don't have any issue with the logo as it is. For the most part, my philosophy is redesigns typically don't offer much value to people. They offer a lot of people like to do them. People like to refresh websites and logos and branding and all that other kind of stuff. But it's just mostly an aesthetic opinion, which I understand. Everybody's got their own likes and dislikes. But as far as recognizability is concerned, I value that more than whatever particular aesthetic might be. I would advocate for just leaving it as is and then just accumulating the recognition on whatever we have already.
I agree, except I think if there's something comes along which is absolutely dynamite that we can trademark, then I'd say go for it. But yeah, rebranding is a big deal.
It is, yeah. Let's see, what was the last one, Ian?
The burn.
Burn. Right. Yeah, that's a tricky topic, and I haven't seen any good rationale or any good like way of trying to come up with a number. And until I do, I'm not wanting to offer an opinion about it.
There should be a committee or something that's investigating the issue. I'm not sure where this would fall, probably under the executive committee.
There is, and there's been a lot of conversation there. So go have a look, Jim. So that's where this push is coming from. So it was the ballot issue was proposed initially by Jacob Basiri, and he is still pushing very strongly for it. And so, I mean, he kind of forced my hand to get involved because, as directors, we do have to follow what the desires of the membership, and that was clearly given in that vote. So we can't really brush this under the carpet. We have to talk about it, educate our members, the pros and cons, and come up with a number.
Yep. So you said most of that conversation has happened in the executive committee channel?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is there a desired timeline on this burn that is proposed?
That's a great question. I have not seen anything as to timing.
So, the sociocratic style of decision based on consent is that you come up with a number that everyone can consent to, in the working group, and present that to the cooperative. And if somebody has an objection, the objection has to do with either it's not in line with the goals of RChain, or it's not safe to use that number. and if they can argue that,
Jim, sorry, read the discussion in the channel. So people are making premises about why a burn is good or bad, and then we're weighing out whether this is true. Like, for instance, there's the argument that multiple staking tokens are coming, therefore burning more would be okay. And then there's the assumption that burning rock is going to promote the platform, get a lot of press, increase the value of the rock. So,
So we've been talking about this in the board also, and
yeah.
I think in the minutes it's more clear how it is formulated now. So it would be good to have the minutes in the GitHub, and then we can publish them.
Which minutes? I don't recall this being discussed. How many rock to burn?
Well, it was a subject in the meeting, so in the minutes of the board meeting there should be something on it.
Yeah, I tried to pull up the video, but of that last board meeting, I didn't have access.
Oh.
It was removed.
Okay, well, I will add you.
One thing I did mention in that meeting about timing, it's I think for both sides of the issue, it doesn't make sense to make a decision with less information, and we're going to have much more information about what's going to happen later in the year. So this is for both sides, right? Whether it's a good idea or not, I would advocate for waiting, and the reason for waiting is so that we just have an idea about where the project is, what the market has already said or not said about the token itself. There's a lot of things we would know later in the year, as opposed to right now.
Right, we have financial reporting, which will be coming out. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so it will be something in 2018. Late 2018.
Well, not necessarily. That's just what my opinion is. But regardless, we can't burn anything until 2018, which is still a few weeks away.
Yeah.
Well, I encourage everyone to participate in that channel and get your thoughts down.
Will do.
And we don't really even have a mechanism for. We don't know what is a quorum in any of these committees, and then where do we go from there? Something like a burn, are we going to need a vote of the membership to get the amount right? I mean,
no, we strive for consent, and if that fails, then maybe we use Lumio. I don't know. But if we can get consent, then all's well. If everyone says, okay, we're going to burn 1 million of these things or whatever, and everyone consents to that, that's fine.
Jim, who is everyone?
There's no reason to make a decision now. In any case, that's our first question: is when do we have to make a decision? And
I think it raises a lot of questions, and maybe it's better to discuss it in the Discord channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also the point to be recognized that that there's still the possibility of, when the rev is launched, that there will be a multiplier on top of whatever rock is. So 2, 10, 15, whatever. So it might make less sense to burn as opposed to just waiting for an additional amount to become available, but your proportion would be the same.
Where did this multiplier come from? That it was 1 for 1. I haven't heard of this yet.
No, it's an idea. Because we will need, I should say, the idea that 1 billion is going to satisfy all of the economic activity. I mean, obviously it can, but all of the transactions are going to be pushed further and further past the decimal point. and there's reasons either programmatically, aesthetically, and then just sort of conceptually that's perhaps not the best idea to have lots of transactions to the right of the decimal. And so increasing the total number would help alleviate some of that. And there are different possible ways of doing that. These are just ideas right now. Nothing has been either proposed or anything like that.
Makes sense.
But there is a good rationale, and I think it's a good idea that to increase the total amount of rock or rev not rock. There's been no discussion about increasing rock. That's not on the table at all. But for rev, we're targeting something like the total economic output of the state of California, right? Can you imagine the state of California operating with $1 billion? It seems ridiculous. And if we're really looking for the scale, that kind of scale, we're going to need to increase the utility base. There's especially if there's limited decimals to work with in terms of like floating points.
Yep. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that idea to multiply it straight from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So one rock for like million rev or so.
Yeah, just way out there.
I wish Jacob was on this call. I'm sure he'll tune in and watch it later. But this meeting conflicts with developer stand-up. So I think he's actually over there. So I was thinking even to ask, is there a better time for this call?
Well, so this meeting is now conflicting with the developer stand-up? Is that what's happening?
I think it's been doing so for some time. Yeah.
Yeah, we lost Mike Stay. We lost a lot of people when they did that, and we should probably move.
1 hour earlier, is it feasible, or later? Then it becomes very late for the European
1 hour
side.
earlier is good for me.
We could do a different day too. They don't all have to be on the same day.
That's true. So.
So 1 hour early doesn't work.
Personally, I would vote for 1 hour earlier to avoid conflict, and I like having it all on the same day because then I just block that evening. It's my evening, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't quite
good stamina.
Yeah.
I will create an issue for it, and there we can propose new times. Is that
I vote for Thursday or Tuesday.
Okay, you can write it down in the issue. Is there any other things?
Well, I just wanted to make one point and then go back to one issue. But the point about the burning, I'm very dubious about it, and I haven't jumped in on the conversation besides posting some questions. But the conversation I heard today, especially since Jacob isn't with us, that should really be showing up in Discord and being visible for others who are not in this meeting. We have 7 people here, and there's a lot more members. So I think we should participate in that issue in Discord and try to get some clarity, and that might help to move towards consensus. And the other point I wanted to make is about consensus and the logo. And we seem to be having a divergence of opinion where some people think that there's a project going on to redesign the logo of the cooperative. And other people are working on a logo for a staking token. And there was a brief distributed a while ago, which describes what the staking token logo should entail. And the key concept was consensus. So there are a number of people, including a designer who's also working on the look and feel for the website, who've been working on this logo, and then a sort of parallel conversation, not in GitHub, but in Discord has developed. And there it seems that we're designing a logo for the cooperative. And in that discussion, I posted the idea that I don't think that the cooperative and the staking token are the same thing. But I'm not trying to argue that now. I'm just pointing it out that there's this divergence between, is it the logo for the co-op, or are we designing a logo for the future rev? And personally, I'm quite happy with how it's going with the red logo design, because it really is community-based. However, in Discord, somebody said, should we hire a professional company to come in and do the complete corporate image for RChain? And that's also an idea. But again, I'm quite happy with how things are going on the design side within the community. And I've gone back and forth with Ian a bit. He thinks the designer is a fake, but I think she's actually pretty good, whatever. This discrepancy is something we should try to get cleared up. And if the co-op wants to hire a professional company to design the corporate image, they have the money to do that now. But I would prefer to let this small focused project where members are designing a staking token, let it come to a result, and then let's live with it for a while. Because with logos, when they're new, they seem interesting. And then, as we've seen with that previous competition, after a month, 2 or 3, then sometimes they lose their luster. So I would like to see the community continue and do this work, and maybe we'll get something out of it. And if not, then maybe we want to pull in a professional company to do the whole corporate image of the co-op. Point.
Okay, so if I can say a couple things about that. So first, I guess there's the question of, should we have more than one image or logo or brand involved here? So we have right now the double RChain logo, which is also being used to represent the rock. When rock is gone, we're only going to have, the co-op right now is really looking to have just one token, right? So rock is supposed to, okay, I see you, kid. So there's the question, do we want multiple images going on? The other thing you mentioned, hiring a professional design company. So that was Dan Greenkite brought that up. And I like that idea, because if this is something that we're thinking to trademark, I think we'd want some professionals involved. Almost all of the images that I've seen on GitHub are rather generic and absolutely cannot be trademarked. So that's my biggest issue, I think, with that effort in GitHub, is those are generic images.
So this is kind of excellent, because you say we want to hire a professional service, but a professional service can go into the issues and then they get rock for their designs. So and then the members can also see what's happening. So, and having influence probably.
Yeah, ideally we would maximize the community input and contribution, as well as have the benefit of people who really have the professional take on it. People with a lot more knowledge and experience in doing this.
But I hate it that you say a professional service would be better than what we gather through the member actions. I mean, those people are also professionals. So what are you talking?
No, so with graphic design, anyone who has a computer today is now a graphic designer, and few of them have the education in design or the knowledge about what trademark or copyright is. if you go to a competition like 99 Designs, you'll see thousands of entries where people are under the impression that you can take someone else's design and make a derivative work, making some small little modification of, say, 20%. And that's absolutely not so. If we have a professional designer with a reputation at stake and with affiliations with groups, associations like the American Association of Graphic Design or something like that, then they're not going to screw around. They're not going to copy others' designs because they have too much at risk in doing so. Using some small designer or some amateur, we really run the risk of ending up with something which is not original and would be, we would get sued, just like the NBC was sued over their Peacock.
Okay, your point is clear, but I don't see why such a professional designer could not go into the issues, etc.
Well, in fact, it gets into personal opinion about design, but we have a professional designer working on it for ROCs right now. And I've looked at this girl's portfolio, and I have a history in the design industry, and I'm sure the girl is not a fake. She's not a senior, experienced, famous designer, but she's doing good work. And coming up with logos that do not bear some resemblance to other existing logos is extremely difficult. And it happens in a series of steps. And that's what we're doing right now. So I think we should let this roll and see what comes out of it.
What are these steps, Kit? Usually people start with a concept, then they might have some black and white drawings. What I'm seeing are finished designs which are completely derivative and in some case copied almost exactly with this designer's name on it, presented in a way that is saying that it's her own work. So I'm sorry, I do have to take issue with you on that.
Well, it's a question of iteration. So the designs are done with professional software and they look done, but that doesn't mean they're final. They iterate and they develop. And when one gets created and then it seems, well, this one seems a little too similar to that NBC News logo, then it gets wiped from the table. But the concept was already provided, and that was that it should represent consensus. So that's what she's been working on. And the iteration of it, especially if you look at her last sheet of logos, it's making nice steps. And she's also trying to do logos for the people that want an R as opposed to an icon. So the process is going just fine, in my opinion.
Yeah, we just need more professionals on this logo. So through the same system, that's my point. So we have some new people also that came aboard. Jacob has also arrived.
Hey guys.
Before we were talking about a lot of things, and we missed your voice in that. And it was about the...
I might. No, nothing like that. Nothing.
Oh, it was about burning of tokens, etc.
Oh, well, what would I possibly have to say about that? I'm sure.
Hello?
We don't have to revisit the issue. I'm sorry, I was on the developer stand-up just listening in because I asked, and I enjoy hearing the developer updates, and they moved it to coincide with our meeting. So that's why I was late. By the way, this is Mernal. He's actually sitting right next to me, but he's on his own computer, so I'll let him say hello. And
would it be helpful if I introduce myself briefly? I'll go ahead and do it anyway. Guys, I've known Jacob for a while. I used to work at Bain Capital, and one of my best friends there went to Harvard Business School with Jacob, and that's how we got introduced. I bought ROC during Jacob's purchase. I co-invested along with his fund. And I've been investing in the cryptocurrency space since about 2013. By way of background, I spent 2.5 years at Bain & Company, 2.5 years at Bain Capital as an associate in private equity on technology, media, and telecom. And over the last 5 years, I was the sector head for technology, media, and telecom at a hedge fund, which, you know, we grew from 150 million to $1 billion in assets. And I just quit that last week to get more involved in the cryptocurrency space. And, you know, I'd say RChain is the only altcoin I own. I do own the major ones, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Lite. But, you know, I think you guys are on something really great here. And you know, I'm working with Jacob to see how I can be more involved and hopefully drive something positive. And it's great to meet you all.
Yeah, you too. We also discussed about possibly changing the meeting time too. So there might be probably a GitHub issue about that, so we can coordinate so there'll be less overlap.
Yeah, the last point that HJ made, I think I want to grow the GitHub system, but it's just possible that some, I don't know, is it possible? Let me ask it as a question, that some people who have meaningful contributions to give to the community, you know, it's a little bit of a barrier for them to contribute, and in some instances, I don't know. Is that a case? HJ, how do you think about that? I totally want to support the, you know, budget and reward system that you've set up, and all of us. I mean, I've benefited from it, and it's pretty simple and it works really well. But how do you just think we have to get everyone funneled onto that?
Well, the first goal is that the rocks go out to as many people as possible, and then a lot of people have rocks to play with. So that, in my view, that creates a market for it. So, and the second goal is to have those people very near to the platform. So if they have some rock, then there's more, cohesion, I would say. And it's a wonderful means to stimulate people to do actually something. So that's why the system is set up like this, very simple and clean.
So in the case of, let's say, working and adding an additional professional designer to work with the Valeria or whoever is already working on it, I guess they would have to come onto the system, and it's not a big deal because it's easy to learn it. And these are computer people anyway, it's not hard, right?
Yeah, that's completely possible. So that would be nice, that then there would be some competition between those designers. That would be great. Or they cooperate, you know, so.
Where people get stopped immediately when I send them to contributing is becoming a member of the co-op. You know, they don't even go on to look at what issues there are to work on.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. So, do you have to be a member to be a collaborator? That's the question.
I think you have to be a member in order to collect your rocks. But until that point, until we actually owe you rocks, you don't have to be a member.
Well, I could imagine that without being a member, that you still could earn rock. But in that case, you have to provide some personal details.
We have to do KYC, huh?
No. Not KYC, but just an email address and a living address. And for US citizens, also some tax forms. And for the US aliens, maybe also a tax form. So that would be the constraints.
So that would maybe make it easier for people to use your system. You know, change the ordering of the process. You know, when we send them an invoice, we could encourage them to join the co-op, but you know, they could not and still get paid rocks.
Why not?
I've been playing with an idea. I'm not sure how best to implement it, but if there's, do you guys think it would be any help to have something like an intranet site or a website that members could get in and edit, like something like a WordPress? Wouldn't have to be fancy or flashy, but something like, members.rchain.coop, where you can post things like blogs or have some small pages set up. There's the risk of adding another channel and confusing things more. So I'm just not sure if that would be a good idea, a bad idea, if it could help with getting people working on these issues.
I think we should get on Reddit and let's create a members.rchain.coop website, but let's also go on the formal channels. I mean, we're doing a better job with the energy from like Merv, and Kit Blake is working a lot with him. And I don't know who OG Madhu is, but that guy, the Telegram is doing pretty well. But I was talking with a couple people today about getting the Reddit spruced up with some of our design features, and like Coinsy he really likes Reddit. So I'm like, Coinsy, write about us in Reddit. He's like, okay, but like I don't know the tech really well. So I'm like, don't worry, ask a question, I'll answer it. I just never use Reddit. Send it to me, I'll answer it. So I think.
Yeah, I did set up a blog for members to publish their shit. That's not official co-op stuff yet, but nobody's come to the plate to admit it at this point. It's a ghost blog, whatever, website.
Yeah, I think we have enough, what shall you call them, publishing channels at this point. We have GitHub, which works quite well. There's a wiki in GitHub, which nobody's using. The one guy, I forget his name, in Kansas City keeps pushing people to use it, but it hasn't taken off. And if we do want to have blogs, then that thing that Jim set up could be used. But let's just focus on GitHub in terms of getting work done. And it absolutely should not be a requirement that you become a member in order to contribute. It's an open source project. So right. It has to stay that way.
A shout out to Dan Connolly in Kansas City. Right.
Dan Connolly. I haven't spoken to him yet or I haven't interacted with him really since I think in '92. He quit the W3C. And I
think he's on the dev call. He's on the other, he's in the developer meeting right now, most likely.
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Yeah, I have to connect with him, but I sent him letters saying how important he was to the effort and how much he contributed, but he left. I don't know what the problem he had was.
I think he's teaching now.
Yeah, he was just a key contributor. He wasn't at CERN. Or part of the CERN effort. He was a key contributor. He kept everybody in line, And,
he's still doing the same. He's marvelous.
Yeah,
he's doing a lot of work. There's 2 minutes to go, I think. So I'm happy with this conversation, and I'm looking forward to next week. And we can jump over to the debriefing of Greg in a few minutes. So if there's anything urgent to say, then I would stop this meeting. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye all.
Bye.